Okay, right, we're going to work on this one now. So it's darker in the centre part there, but it actually comes out quite light. So first of all, I'm going to go in with the dark sepia just around this section here. Because I need this bit to stand up against this one, so I don't want it to look flat. Just light to medium pressure on the paper, and then I'm going to go in with Caput Mortem. Just bear with me. Caput Mortem Violet, because I think the Caput Mortem on its own is a bit too warm. Okay, so just want to make sure I've got that bit correctly done. And we're just going to go around here. So just that round movement with the pencil. Light to medium pressure, because we don't want to flatten the tooth, we want to be able to add colour on top. Okay, and there's a little bit to the side coming down here, so it's just going to draw that in. It's going to come in around there, and then it's going to go up through there. Okay, right. Just going to see if I can get these a bit lighter. So I'm going to go in with the white watercolour pencil, but I'm going to go not wet the end, I'm going to go in dry with it. So right, so just around there. I don't want to sort of bring any other colour into it. Just want it to sort of stand out a bit more. And then with this one as well. Okay. So this one's going to be grayer anyway, because it's kind of like out of focus, although this one, I'm just going to try and make it a bit lighter. Okay, right, so I'm going to go in with the cold grey one, and I'm just going to add a lighter layer over the top. Just that round circular motion with the pencil. Because we just want to blend in that layer. Just gonna zoom in again for a bit, just so you can see it. Okay, right. And then it's gonna let's have a look. Try the nougat. Just around the ends. So it's still showing as a bit dark, but I'm gonna go in a bit with the white. Actually, no, the ivory. Okay, so we've got the ivory here. It's kind of lighter at the end here. Just going to sort that focus out for you. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Right. Just going to go over the dark sepia that we've added. And then I'm just going to blend in with the walnut brown. That's looking a bit blurred. That's it. Oh. Okay, right. Okay, and I'm going to go in with Caput Mortem. Okay. So I'm just looking at this one here, because that side bit is going to be forming part of that. So let me just go in with dark sepia. Okay, and just want to make sure that just very faintly along there. Okay, so I'm going to go in with the cold grey one. So I'm just going to lighten this near that dark sepia, and I'm going to bring in the Van Dyke brown. And then the cold grey one. Okay, so then I think we've got to sort this bit out, so that's going to be with the cold grey one as well. And then actually I'm going to go in with the white first of all around here. So I'm just going to bring in some of that colour. Okay. I want to sort of make this a bit lighter actually. As we're nearing to the top. And Van Dyke brown around here, just along the very bottom. Just need to get that to stand out a bit more. So I'm not actually drawing a line, I'm sort of colouring a line, if that makes sense. Okay, yeah, that's making it stand out a lot better. Right, so next I'm going to go in that one, I'm going to do that one. So I'm going to start with the upper layers now, going in with a base colour of Nougat. So it's a lot lighter and warmer. And I'm going very lightly on this. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of Caput Mortuum to give it more of a warmer look to it. And it has got, I'm not going to go in with dark sepia yet, I'm going to go in with the walnut brown, because along here it's quite dark, so I'm just basically blocking the colour out for the moment. Go over it now with a bit of dark sepia. And oh, there it is. It's going to give a bit of a point to the cold grey one. Right, I just want to go over and do this lightly. Okay. So it finishes around there. And then underneath it's got that lighter part going on there as well. And then what I'm going to do is put a fine point on the Caput Mortuum violet. And just add some squiggle bits on there. It's very, very slight, just sort of, you know, sort of moving your pencil like that. Just making this slightly darker. And then I think I'll go in with some white. So I'm going to add a bit of a point onto the white. I'm just going to put some extra like white dots on there. And then a little bit around here. And then just with the dark sepia, put a bit of a point on it. Because under here it's sort of darker. And it's got some darker bits coming through at the bottom here. So So just sort of a few lines going in there, and then I'm just going to go and add some white in there as well. Okay. Sorry about this. Right. I'm just not happy with the focus on it, but then it's, you know, it's zooming in, it's not exactly going to be crystal clear. Okay, let's just move that up slightly. There, I think I'm going to leave it like that. Right, let's get back to it. And just with the Caput Mortuum Violet, just come through a bit. Just going to add a bit of a point to the Caput Mortuum. So it's a bit darker down the bottom there. Let's just get a bit of a point on that. Okay. A bit of cold grey in there as well, right on that edge. And nougat. Just going to add some in there as well. Just want to go careful with the pressure that we don't make it muddy looking. This is the white. Okay, now I'm going to move on to this top part here. So I'm going to come in with the white. Don't go into the darker colours at all. Right, and we have some of the India red. Just around, so I was just sort of having a quick look at the reference photo. It's something else. It's just going to go in a bit along there, and then go on top with the cold grey one. Because then you've got the lip of this part of the cone here, which forms part of this one, and then the rest of it is the one next to it. Right, so just want to add a bit of cold grey one around here. Just this needs to be a subtle amount of width of the pencil there. And again, not going into the darker colours, just being very careful because we want some of this to remain quite bright. Okay. So next we're going to be working on this one, and I just want, that shouldn't be so sharp there. Let me just go in with the cold grey one. And so it goes over that way and is rounded. And of course we've got the under part there. So that's white there. So I just want to sketch that in a moment. Okay, right. I'm going to try going in with a white around here because it's getting to be quite light. I'm just going to use the white as a base coat. Okay, so this is where it gets confusing a bit around here. Like that. Right. So this shape is this one. So, and then that shape, just bear with me a moment. So that has a dark line going about there. So I think what that is, I'll just go in this part belongs to this bit. Yeah, it does. So there we go. I knew it'd work out. And then, so I think that's what this bit was for, from when we plotted the shadow in earlier. Okay. That makes sense. Right. Okay. So let's just go back in with this one now. Right. So I think, yeah, I'm going to go in with the nougat. And of course tonal values will bring this out a lot better. Just gonna separate this one a bit because we need dark sepia coming out and upwards for this one. So then we know where each one starts and each one ends. And then of course you've got darker bits in the middle around here, which, let's have a look. I'm going to go in with the dark sepia there before we work on that one. Just want to sort of mark it in a bit better. It's quite a defined line there. And then underneath there's a definite lighter part. Don't want to go into that too much. That comes all along there. So it's but basically doing this part of that is helping us with the one that we're going to work on. Right, back in with the nougat. So we want the front part to be quite light. And let's go in with the walnut brown first of all. So we need to kind of like leave a lighter part there, and what we want is to add some more shadow so you can sort of see the tonal values all coming together, and to make it sort of each piece stand out. Okay, just going to give it a bit of warmth with some caput mortuum. I want to make, going to go with the cold grey one and make this part here a bit lighter. This comes down a bit more. And then comes up. And then I'm going to go in with the warm grey one at the end here. Oh no, that bit there, sorry about that. And I'm just going to blend that in there, and then go in with the nougat again. So it's just coming around there, and it's going to be a bit more browny at the end. Cold grey 2, sorry, no, warm grey 2. Just a bit more there. And I'm going to go in a bit with a caput mortuum. Of course we want that to stand out against that. Okay, it's not finished this part to my liking, so let's go back in with the dark sepia, because we need to get our tonal values correct. And so this dark area needs to be dark. And then this part needs to be dark underneath this lighter part. And that needs to come up past there slightly. There we go. Going very, very lightly on this part, and then I'm going to come in with the cold grey 1. So it's comes in there, and I'm going to add in some Van Dyke brown just around here, just very, very small amount. So we may balance that out a bit more once we've added some more around here. But so I'm just going to work on this part here. Then I'm just going to go in with the white. Right, let's get some caput mortuum in there. And then I'm just going to bring in a bit more dark sepia on the one below it, just to get it to sort of stand out slightly more. Okay, so that's looking better. So we just need to sort that bit out once we've done this part. Right, let's go a bit of white around here. Okay, that needs to come over a bit more. This is Van Dyke Brown. So it's not so blocky. And then we'll go in with some cold grey 1 just to sort of very lightly blend that. Right, just have a quick drink. Right. Okay, so this part around here. So we've done the bit at the side. I just want to go in with a bit of ivory and just work on this part a bit more. Okay, and so this part is really light, so I'm going to go in with the white as the base layer. And I'm just going to go in around here with this as well. This one I'll add some cold grey 1 at the end, but I just want to go in and sort this bit out first. Okay, so I'm going to go in with lightly with the Caput Mortuum. Because it's very light around here as we're getting nearer to the top of the pine cone. So it goes just around there. And I'm going to go in with the Caput Mortuum Violet because just under here it's slightly darker, but it's not as dark as a brown would be. So I'm just adding a few small layers under there. Okay. Right. And then I'm going to come back in with the Caput Mortuum and just add another layer. looks a bit like more like a warm grey, so I'm just going to go in with warm grey too. Just to provide some lightness on there. Doesn't need to have an outline on that, so I'm just going to blend that in there. And of course there is a contrast to the side of it. And just go down this way because there's a slight curve in it. Go downwards, and then there's, if we go with the white because it's a bit lighter, coming that way. So I'm just going to add a bit of a point onto this cold grey too, sorry, the warm grey too. Right, let's get a bit more warmth in that. So just going to bring out that. This is the caput mortuum. Let's go in with the cold grey one, a bit around there. Don't want the too harsh edges around here. Right, I think it needs slightly more from the caput mortuum violet, just around here. So don't be afraid with your tonal values. Right, I'm going to add some, I'm going to do the end, and then we're sort of balance in a bit more. This actually, I think, yeah, this one needs a bit more warmth to it. So first of all, I'm just going to go in with some caput mortuum. Just very lightly. Right. Okay, let's go back to this one then, and just going to add a bit in the middle there with the cold grey one. And then it's got some India red coming in around here. Okay. going to add some more caput mortuum to this side. Okay, right. Let's move up. Let's do that one next. So this one's quite dark. So I'm going to go in with the dark sepia. Because we haven't done that one yet, but I'm going to come in with that one, then we're going to move across to that. Oh, sorry about that. So it's already got some shadow coming in from that one. Okay, and actually let's just, with that, because this is part of it as well, just bear with me, it's that one, and then it comes round. Very lightly on here. And then I'm going to add some cold grey one around here. So just along to here. And then it looks like caput mortuum violet around here. Nope, that's for that. No, it is actually for that. And let's go in some dark sepia again. Okay, so it's got part there. And just around that, and I'm going to come in with some walnut brown. So I'm going very light around here, and I'm just, because like I've mentioned quite a few times, because it's a small area, it fills up really quickly. And then I want to go in with the cold grey 2 again. So it's just like looking like a bit of frost going on there. Okay, so then we're going to do this part. So I'm going to, don't go into the, this is the white, don't go into the darker colours around it. Just be very, very careful. That needs to be so I'm just using the dry watercolour because that just needs a bit more roundness on it. Okay. Right, so I'm going to go in and add some cold grey too, just around the lip here. Just a very small amount. Just go back in with the white around this part. And then I'm going to go in with the cold grey one over here. And then with the dry watercolour pencil, okay, right, so I think the next best thing to do is to do this one. So again, because it's facing into the centre, this part's going to be darker. I'm going to start off with the Van Dyke brown. So even though the pinecone is actually quite dark in places, having the you know, the snow and the frost on it really does sort of balance it out. Right, so we've got Caput Mortem Violet coming in down here, just like that. And then I think I'll go in with the cold grey too. And then dark sepia. grey 1. And then I go in with the dark sepia just down here, so we don't want to touch that bit anymore, so it's just this part on the edge here, so it's quite dark just up to here. And then I'll go in lightly with some Caput Mortuum Violet, just very lightly. There's a definite bit there. And Cold Grey 2. So actually, first of all, dark sepia. Just along there. And then Cold Grey 2. Just get a bit of white in along the edge there. And I'm going to go back in with walnut brown. And some India red. Just along there, and we'll lighten that with the white in a moment. Let's just come out, see how that's looking. Yep. So we haven't got much left to do, so I think what I'll do is we'll get this one finished in this session, because there's not much left to go on it. Right, and just come in. Actually, let's get some more white on that. Not that one. Oh. This is the walnut brown. I'm going to go in with some warm grey 1. But so just want a point on it. Like that. And now we're going to go in on top. So Cold Grey 2. So that's in next to their India red there. And then here, just a little bit there. And then cold grey one. Just around the front there. And then we'll go in with the white around that. Okay, quick drink. Right, so we've got two there, so let's go with that one, and we'll go in with the caput mortuum. So let me just add in a layer of white here, and then the caput mortuum violet. And just go over the top of that again with white. So it's lights, you know, so with our layers it's like light over dark. And then we'll go over that again with the caput mortuum violet. So this bit here is quite prominent. And it's sort of part of this one, but I wanted to get it in first. Okay, so then this one, right, so we want it to stand out. It's got some darker parts. This is the dark sepia. So it's got some darker parts coming down here. Remember, we don't want that white halo, so we've got to go right up to the, you know, into to each individual shape. And what we're going to do is around here with the dark sepia, it's got a dark line there, and then we'll go in with the cold grey 2 on the edges there. Just add a bit more of a point to it. And okay, so that's, we'll go in there because you can't see it that much. Right, and then we'll do the snow cap there. bit muddy around there. Let's use my, there it is, kneadable rubber, just to sort of lift out some of the dirt that's around there. It's quite easy to sort of transfer it onto the surface around, and that's when these sort of kneadable rubbers come in handy. Right. I'm going to go in with the dry watercolour pencil. A bit of the cold grey one. Okay, so we'll move on to that one, the one that's just in front. I'm going to go in with the dry watercolour pencil. Right, so this part in the middle here, let's use the other white for that, the polychromos white. Just going to go over that. So we'll work on this part first. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Caput Mortuum violet. So we've added our light layer. And we're going to go back in with another layer of Caput Mortuum. And we're not pressing heavily with this. So another layer of white pencil. And then towards the bottom is where it's brighter, so it's got that real deep rich colour about it. And then continue up here a bit with some nougat. Actually, I'm just going to see if I can get that sharpened. Oh. Let me just take it out of the pencil holder. Oh. There we go. That's how small it's looking now. See, it's smaller than the pine cone. Right. But while I can still sharpen it, it's good enough to go. Okay, right. So nougat just up there. Just sort of making it a bit duller, but it's quite warm there. Bit of caput mortuum on the edge. I'm just going to give it a finer point. There it is, just around. There. And right at the very bottom there, I'm going to add a bit of dark sepia. Just a very small bit. Okay, right. So now we're going to move on to this part. And I'm going to start with walnut brown. Very lightly. And of course it's got to make that bit stand out as well. Okay, and actually at the top here is going to be some caput mortuum. And I want to go in with the caput mortuum violet on this part again. Okay, right, so yeah, got some caput mortuum along there, and then in with the sorry, the walnut brown. Sorry, it didn't come out there then, did it? Okay. Cold grey too. So that's going to be all along there. And it's got quite a crisp line going along there. And then the cold grey one. It's a bit more along there. Okay, so now we want to do this. So we're going to use the cold grey 2. bit there as well. And then coming in with some white. Okay, next one then is going to be just bear with me. Yeah, it's going to be this one here. There is a slight blurry one in the background, so let's just do that first. Just going to add a layer of white. I'm going to go in with some Van Dyke brown. So we just want it to stand out against the ones that are around it. And then I'm just going to add in some caput mortuum around here. Let's just get that to stand out a bit more against that. Right, okay, so back to this one. So this one is looking a bit jumbled at the moment, but don't worry too much. So we've got, it's quite light on there, so cold grey 1, and then come in around here. In the middle it's quite dark with dark sepia. Let's just get a bit of point on that. So then we've got got the line coming down, so it's quite dark around here. So there we go. So that's the one there that we needed to make sure it stands out. Right. So this one's quite a dark one on this side. Let's just add in a bit more around on this one. Okay, right, so then we're going to go in with Caput Mortem. And I'm just going to come in with some Cold Grey 1. Just putting sort of specks of Cold Grey 1 onto the dark part there. Just want to dull that down a bit. And of course that bit, oh, there's quite light. So I'm going to go with some Caput Mortem Violet. Okay, the top part with the India Red. Cold Grey 2. And actually down there as well. And now in some white. Right, so we're going to work on that one now. So I'm just going to go over that one. And then I'm going to go in with the Caput Mortem. So it needs to sort of show up well against the other ones we've just added in. So this one actually needs to have the snow part coming up and around, which we'll sort out in a moment. some white. Okay, so I just come up there. So it needs to come up. Yeah, so it's just needed to come up a bit more. And we're going to come in with it on there. This is the cold grey one still. With Caput Mortem coming through there. And then down like that. And then some white. A bit more of the Caput Mortem. Now that we're near the end, we don't want to be rushing. We want to make sure that we're spending as much time on this part as we did on the other parts. And just a bit of white for the markings there. Okay, so next one is this one here. So it's got, actually just bear with me, just want to go in on this one with some Van Dyke brown. Right, so we've done that one. Alright, so we want to make this one stand out across here. So with this, it's not actually part of that, it's just sort of coming out. Like that. And then it's got some cold grey on it. Just along the edge there. And some like frost on it. So then we're going to work on that part. So it's more of a, let's go in with the Caput Mortem. there's one coming out there as well. So let's just come in with that, and then go over it in white because it's in the background. Okay, so we're going to continue here. So that is coming out there, and then of course we've got another dark one. Let's go use the dark sepia moment. It's coming out should be about there, I think. That's that. Yeah, there's another one here. And that should be about so I'm just sort of having a look and then just trying to get that in there, and that comes in with this one. So, and it's quite sort of dark in places, just like that one. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with some of the walnut brown, and then I'm going to go in with the cold grey, so that is gonna, you're going to see the top of that there. We'll go back to that one in a minute. And then underneath there I can see that it's lighter. Okay, and then we've got to do the snow part. So I'm gonna add that bit in there. And go in with some white. Right, now back to that one. Okay. So I'm going in with the white. bit of India red in there as well, so it's quite light in places. I'm just go in with the dark sepia with this one because it's getting a bit lost under there. And that one there, that one. So they're standing out a lot better now. So just to do the top part of that, so let's just use the white as the base for the moment. And cold grey too. And then we're going to come in there again with that. It's got a bit of caput mortem coming through. And white coming down there a bit as well. Right, so these bits here is really bad English, are just kind of in the background a bit. And this is caput mortem. I'm going to come up here with the cold grey too. And in there as well. Gonna blend that bit in like that, and these other ones as well. And then it's just these two to work on, so almost there. So I'm gonna come in, just gonna work on that one first of all. I'm gonna use a white for the base layer. Then I'm going to come in with the caput mortem. And then I'm going to use the caput mortem violet to build up the dark part here. and then just underneath there it's going to be a bit darker. Just make sure that part is dark. And a bit more of the caput mortuum. And then I want the cold grey here. And then I'm going to do the side part of it. So it was, if it was coming along there, this is the caput mortuum. Okay, so because we want that bit to be darker than that bit there, so we've got some dark sepia. Just a bit along there. So it's quite light. Just want to smooth that over a bit, very lightly. Let's just come in with the caput mortuum violet again. Okay, and then we'll bring that colour in, the white in with the colour along there. Okay, so then we're going to finish off with this one, and then we're just going to go in and sort out the darks a bit more, make sure they pop, you know, pop out a bit. But so this one's going to be a light one. Actually, I can see on this one it needs to be thicker, like that. Yeah, that's making much more sense. Okay, right. So I'm going to go in with, so this part needs to be lighter than the ones around it. Okay, and then we're going to go in with the Caput Mortem. And then I'm going to go over with the white again. Right, and we want just in there, there's a little dark part, so this is the dark sepia. And I'm just going to go some nougat around here. And just a bit down here, just very lightly over the top there, because we don't want it to look flat. And a bit more of the Caput Mortem, just to sort of warm it up a bit. And some white around there because it needs to be lighter. A bit more of the Caput Mortem. Right, I want that to stand out above that. Right, I'm just going to go back in now and just check the dark areas, that they are dark enough. Just add one more sort of coat and then that will be it. So just going to go over to make sure we've got what we need just to make it pop a bit. So I'm using the dark sepia for that. Right, so this needs a bit more dark around here. Because then it sort of, that's it, then it sort of comes in around here. It's quite dark. Okay, and this one needs to be a little bit darker. Right. Okay. Just down the bottom there, it's still a little bit dark because it's the centre of the pine cone. That one there is dark up to there. Right, that needs to be a bit darker up there. So we've managed to sort of get quite a bit done here in this final session, but it is sort of worth, I know this one's what, our 5th session, so you know it's worth spending the time on it. Okay, so that needs to be darker in there. Because like the centre of the pine cone is the darkest part. Okay. Right. That's a bit darker, but not so dark that it doesn't stand out. And of course we've got that bit coming down there. So I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. I hope you are with yours, and it would be lovely if you could share some of these on the group. I will definitely with mine, but yeah, just fill the timeline up with fir cones. I think I do love doing them. I've done one before with, let me just actually get a point on that one, where it's kind of like, you know, it's just like a fir cone with no frost or snow on it, and yeah, it's and it's sort of really quite simple how it's done and so effective. That's that. We've got this, definitely is one of my favourite colours to use. I do like the dark sepia, so effective. Okay, so just a bit there. Let's just do a bit in there. And I've just got to actually, where this is resting, we want Actually, no, I want this to look better. But we do want to do surface for it to rest on. Alright, okay. It's just so easy to sort of keep continuing and, you know, and just going in more and more and like not knowing when to stop. So you have, it's that balance, you're having that balance of not doing enough and doing too much, so that, you know, it makes it muddy and ends up being ruined. But okay, so I am gonna leave it at that, she says, with going in and adding a bit more. Right, gonna leave it at that, I think. I just want to make that a bit darker. As soon as I start stepping away from it, I see something else. Right, I'm going to do the bottom of the fir cone. So I want it, I'm sticking with the, I think the dark sepia, and I want to come in close. Just going to come round. So I just want it to stand out a bit more. So I want it to go in really dark where it's hitting the right up by the fir cone itself. I'm going to do a bit around here. But it's going to be darker around here. So I'm just adding in layers. I'm just going to go lighter around here. Just go careful that you don't go in. yeah, don't go in on the pine cone itself. And again, you could just take this as far as you want. Just gonna go over that a bit. Just to give it a bit of a background. Alright, so I'm just gonna get the black pencil and sign my initials and the date. And we'll call that done, I think. Once I've done a bit more on this. Just carrying on, just filling in the gap there. Right, yeah, that's fine. So we'll call that done. So that's our second festive bonus tutorial. So I hope you're pleased with what you've been able to do and you've enjoyed the process. So, and I'll see you in the final tutorial.